There are many people in the world who just don't quite fit into the perfect corporate job. Well, at Launch House in Highland Heights, they have the perfect spot to start and build for those types of people. Launch House is not just a place to work, but for people from all stages of business, such as entrepreneurs, freelancers, and even startups, to come together and engage one another to grow their companies. Today, at Connections Cleveland, we take a look inside this booming melting pot and ask some questions about how they started, what drew them to Launch House, and what it is like working in an environment with other workers who are really not so different from themselves.
So, if you think about 2008, well, let's step back. So, Launch House though Launch House started in 2008, there really was a kind of a building up to actually starting Launch House. So, I'm originally from Cleveland, and I moved back in January of 2004. So, probably the worst time to move back to the city of Cleveland. And at the time, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. And so I kind of stumbled into real estate. And the first thing I did was I went to start a real estate business. I went to the bank. And the bank said to me, well, do you have a job? And of course I said, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. And they said, well, go get a paycheck. And so from that point on, I went and got a full-time job. And I went back to the bank, got a paycheck, and then I started buying homes in South Euclid, University Heights, rehabbing them and selling them. At that time, as you guys probably know the history of like the real estate crash,
Yeah.
at that time, anyone with a heartbeat and a paycheck could really go out and get a mortgage to buy real estate. And about a year into doing my real estate and working full-time, I got recruited to join a fast-growing medical technology company that was started in the early 2000s in Cleveland. And they were changing the way radiologists interacted with patients by utilizing technology. And so I spent 2 years at that company, and during that time, it really awoke me to what an opportunity technology and entrepreneurship was in Northeastern Ohio. So doing it on my own, but then working for a company that literally over 2 years grew from a few $1 million in revenue to $25 million in revenue, I recognized that this is happening right here in Cleveland. So while all these people were talking about how do you change Cleveland, how do you do something differently, how do you start businesses here, I was watching it happen, and I looked and I said, well, what's going on in Silicon Valley? What's going on in Colorado and Boston? And one of the things that had occurred so if you think back, like from 1993 to like 1999, during the first kind of internet boom, you had a lot of companies that were starting up, like Amazon. I mean, many other notable companies I'm sure you guys could think of. But what happened was it took several $1 million to get those companies off the ground. By the early 2000s or mid-2000s, what was taking several $1 million was now taking a few $1,000s. So my co-founder and I, we actually looked at each other and said, if this can be happen in other parts of the country, why can't it happen here? And with low cost of living, access to resources, mentorship, follow-on capital, universities, Case Western Reserve University, John Carroll, we looked at ourselves and said, why can't we build a grassroots community here that's really built from the ground up, not the top down, which is typical in Northeastern Ohio, where you'll have a lot of organizations that are state and federally funded, nonprofits. Our focus was really, let's see if we can build a community and use that community to help businesses start and grow. And I recognized that there's a real opportunity to create an entrepreneurial culture in Northeastern Ohio. So we started 2 10x10 offices above Geraci's Pizza, and we actually started putting out press releases. Because if you think about 2008, people weren't using Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn to bring entrepreneurs or I don't even think Eventbrite or some of the other like gathering technologies that bring people together for events today, like Meetup, even existed. So we were really just going out in grassroots, going to meet with college students, investors, mentors, successful CEOs, retired executives, the CIA, like anyone who would meet with us, we met with, and a lot of people just slammed their door in our face. They're like, you guys are 25, you have no idea what you're doing. Sure, you've started one business, but that doesn't mean anything because you're not over the age of 45. But what happened was, while a lot of those people just shut the door in our face, a lot of people recognized that what we were doing was really going to change the fundamental culture of allowing entrepreneurs to come together in one central place to start and grow their business. And at that point, we're like, oh my God, like people are coming to our space, not so much for capital, but it was really for the mentorship, the resources, the access to other people, getting people out of their home, connecting college students with people that are in their 40s and watching them become co-founders of a business together because they both realize that they have something different they're working on, but by coming together they can create something greater. And what that showed me is that it's really about putting people together, and that's where the magic happens. Letting people really interact, give real feedback. Today, any Tuesday throughout the month, you can reach out to Launch House and people from our community will come together and you can pitch your idea in real time and get real feedback. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's really about building a grassroots community that brings together entrepreneurs, growing startup companies, freelancers, remote workers, dietitians, psychiatrists, investors, mentors. It's really about bringing all those different people together from all those different industries. And that's really what Launch House is. It's really about bringing the community together and allowing every community in Northeastern Ohio throughout the country to activate their own individual entrepreneurial community.